Okay, I guess we'll get started. Welcome, everybody. Good afternoon to this very informative webinar being hosted by the LCSC in conjunction with the Lakewood, the Development Corporation, the SBA, if I could, and being presented by none other than Morty Fried. If I can give you a little background, Morty was actually kind enough to give a in-person presentation the other week, but Morty was very, very adamant on getting this webinar out to the public. He's very, very he's at the front lines of what's going on as far as fraud, cyber security. And based on what Morty's told me, it's a lot more prevalent than people would like to think. And on a weekly basis, he gets contacted by about 2-3 individuals, businesses who are hacked, scammed. And so this has become a passion of Morty's, and he's really the whole gist of this presentation, the whole backdrop and the whole reason with this is happening so quickly is because Morty is really concerned, and he wants everybody out there to know what to be aware of, how to protect yourself, and the likes. So, in addition to this actual presentation, we plan on putting this out there. For if we're putting it as a link. We'll put it on our website. We're gonna blast it out there. If you have people who you know that you would like for them to hear it, whether it's your employees, whether it's other people that that you feel can benefit from it, please feel free to reach out to our office, Chaim Relowitz. He'll be more than happy to direct you in the right direction in terms of getting this information. I want to thank Chaim for getting all this done so quickly. All this everything that goes into preparing this. So thank you, Chaim. And now, without further ado, we're gonna hand it over to Morty for his amazing presentation.
Okay, with an intro like that, it's already amazing. I don't have much to offer after that. It just can only get better from here. But thanks very much, Alex. We appreciate you very much joining us today. I want a special thank you, like we said, to Chaim Relowitz for arranging all of this, because I frankly don't have the stomach to do public marketing, and he did a wonderful job getting all you hundreds and hundreds of people out there onto this webinar. I have with me today as well my colleague, Chris Filicello. Chris, say hello to everybody. Chris is going to be our victim today. We're going to beat up Chris in a whole lot of different ways. Say hello, Chris.
Hello, everybody.
All right, so I already compensated Chris handsomely for allowing us to be abusive today. We're going to steal his life savings and scare him in multiple fashions. It's going to be a lot of good fun, but just fun, so nothing more than that. Okay, so let's jump right in. So we are here, like Alex mentioned, we're going to be discussing cyber fraud. Now these are scams that, like he mentioned, I am literally hearing about, I wouldn't say daily, but very, very often, several times a month is very accurate to state, where unfortunately people, individuals, businesses, Meisters, organizations, all sorts of different groups are being hurt very, very terribly. And we can't really start to fathom until it happens to us how impactful such an event is. People are losing tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, and even millions to very simple scams. Now, in my opinion, I think our communities as a whole can use a little bit more education. We're very often not as tech savvy, not exposed to technology, which is a great thing, but it does come at this cost where we're not as familiar with a lot of these scams that are very common for other people to recognize immediately. I think we're a little bit behind on the curve, and I'm really hopeful today's webinar will help you, anybody else that watches in the future, understand these threats, because they're actually the same. I hear almost the second someone calls, I can almost spell out for them. They tell me the first scenario that happened, and I can walk them through exactly what actions were taken, how they got impacted, and exactly what techniques were used. So I'm hoping if you pay attention, you'll see that with me, you'll understand what the options are, how you can protect yourself, and things will get much better for us all. So let's jump in. We're going to focus today on a handful of techniques. But first, like we said, let's understand the actual impact. This is a billboard that just went up about a week ago. I believe in San Francisco, up to $430,000 stolen during your commute by hackers. Now it's up to, so obviously there's a lot of leeway here and there, but this is the average based on cybercrime statistics, and Hunches is actually a very reputable cybersecurity company, and I would not doubt that they actually put in the research and came up with a statistic, and it probably is realistic. So let's just think about what that means. While these people are driving home, and it's taking them 20 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour, $430,000 on average is stolen during that time, and I'm guessing that unfortunately some of that money is coming from us. So let's understand we are going to enter the mindsets of the hackers. That is going to be the technique we will use to recognize how they're doing these things. We'll understand what they're doing and the way they think, and that will allow us to recognize it when we're on the other end as victims. So if you are a hacker, you're trying to get to the money. You really don't care about anything else. You don't care about hacking into computers, servers, anything. You care about getting to the money. These are basically the 4 categories of money you can try to get out of your victims. Gift cards are a very easy one. Anyone can go ahead and buy a gift card. That's almost like cash in a lot of ways. You can get into their bank accounts themselves and have them get money to you in different ways. Credit cards, if you get their credit cards, you go purchase things. And their property. Property is going to be a scam that involves title insurance or something similar. Or it could be Bitcoin, any type of cyber wallet that a person might have, that falls under property. So those are kind of the 4 categories. Everything we covered today, I think, falls into those. And that is where we need to start. So we're the hackers. We need to get to the money. How do we do that? I'll give you 2 options. We could hack the tech, or we could trick the people. Those are our 2 options. Now, I'm guessing, based on the fact that we had such a robust introduction, you guys all know that I'm going to advise you very strongly to pick a certain option. That option is trick the people. We want to go after the people. It's much easier to hack people than it is to hack technology. Here's a little cartoon that demonstrates this concept. So here's a crypto nerd's imagination. They captured an operative. He's got a laptop. They need to break into the laptop. And they're like, oh no, it has such good encryption, we'll never be able to get into this laptop. What should we do? Well, that's what happens in our imaginations. In reality, this is what happens. His laptop's encrypted. We can hit him with this $5 wrench until he tells us the password. So what this demonstrates is that technology could be great. It could be very powerful, but until the people are fully unaware of how they're going to be targeted, if we don't protect the people, that is where we're going to get targeted. So let's see how they do that. I'm going to introduce you to 5 different categories of scams, and this is the whole presentation is going to run through these 5 categories. We have threats and coercion. That's going to be the easiest one. If you can get leverage over somebody, obviously you can do terrible things. We have gift cards, like we mentioned, very accessible, very easy to get a hold of gift cards, have people get them for you. Fake websites are a great feeder. We're going to see a bunch of scams that come through that. Wires, and that is really, I should have that in bold, that is probably the most devastating attack involves wires. They're very, very quick. It's almost impossible to reverse or to trace or to recover from, and it's absolutely devastating. There's no limit to how big a wire can be. Whatever funds the person has, that's how much we can get. And the last one is insecure banking. If we could somehow trick people, let us get into their bank accounts, that will obviously be very valuable. So let's jump in. We're going to start right away with threats and coercion. Now again, I didn't just pick these up out of a hat. These are actual stories that have been experienced, unfortunately, in our community. I'm trying to change, all the facts have been changed to protect the innocent, but they are very similar storylines, and definitely the lessons to be learned are identical. So this is what we need. If we're the hackers, we want to threaten and coerce somebody into giving us funds. This is how we do it. So number 1, we need to find a target with their email and phone information. We've got to figure out a way to do that. We'll need a phone number with a caller ID of some immigration agency. Very easily done. We'll see how to do that. And lastly, we'll email them a fake immigration letter. So those are that's the prep work we need to do. Let's run through it together. How can we do that? So number 1, how do we find a target? So we're trying to find somebody that likely has immigration troubles, worries, or fears. So I was trying to be creative, and I don't know if this is how they do it, but I just went ahead, went to LinkedIn, and I did a search for the text H-1B visa. Okay, anyone here on H-1B visa is here as on a work visa, and they might be afraid of immigration issues. Right away, I got 2 hits. I can now identify these people very quickly. I can figure out where they live just based on where they're working, etc. Very, very easy to do. I just got myself 2 targets, and that's just what I grabbed in a tiny little screen share. Next, we need a fake email accounts, because we're going to have to email the people. Everybody should be aware anyone can go open emails anywhere in any name with any domain. Okay, be aware of that. I'm going to be lazy. Instead of purchasing a domain, I'm just going to go to Google, put in a first name and a last name that I just made up. And last, I need to spoof my caller ID. Again, very easily done. I can change my caller ID to anything or anyone on the planet. Okay, I can go ahead, I can call from the White House, I can call from the FBI, and this is not me because I'm special. You can do it as well. Any one of these apps can do it, and many of them are perfectly legal. Lastly, we have a Homeland Security notice. Now, this was actually a scam notice that was sent out in Boston, Massachusetts to victimize many people, but we're going to use that as our template. We got all this information together. We have our target, and now we're ready to attack, okay? Now we're going to switch hats. Chris Filicello is going to be our undocumented resident. We are going to call him and threaten him and try and get him to give us funds. Are you guys ready for that? Well said. Chris, we ready?
Yes.
All right, I'm good. So again, we already sent Chris we've sent Chris the email, so he's already on edge that he got this email that there's a notice of removal. He's worried that the immigration agency is coming after him. We call him up, and this is what takes place. Hello, is this Mr. Filicello?
Yes, it is.
Hi, this is Agent Davenport, badge number 5577911. I'm with the Department of Immigration and Corrections Facilitation. Have you ever heard of our department?
Yes, sir, I have.
We help undocumented citizens that run into immigration issues. And I heard you have somewhat of an immigration issue. Is that correct?
I don't believe so. What's the problem, sir?
So I'm sorry to tell you this, but we actually got an order that within 90 days you are supposed to leave the country. And there is actually a team out there now looking for you, and I'm wondering if we can be of service, because that's what my department does. It seems here you have a clean criminal record. Is that accurate?
Yeah, I don't understand. What did I do wrong?
Well, you're here undocumented. There was a problem with your affidavit on your H-1B visa, and that's something that we just really have to straighten out. If we don't straighten this out soon, you got about 90 days, and you'll really have to leave the country.
Oh, my God. My whole family's here. My kids go to school here. This can't happen to me. Well, how do I fix it?
I spoke with my supervisor before calling. Have you ever heard of an H-6C special waiver?
No, I haven't.
Oh, well, we can do that for you. That'll definitely give you an injunction relief. It's a non-immigrant classification for people who perform services in a specialty occupation. It can definitely help you get a green card very quickly and should resolve this whole issue. I must warn you, it's quite expensive, though. Do you have access to funds that you can quickly access and get over to a government agency?
Well, whatever I need to do. I can't leave the country. My whole life's here. My family's here. What do I need to do?
So
how much is it?
So the waiver itself is about $3,600, and then from there it's just another about $2,500 for the legal fees.
Over $5,000?
That's the gist of it, yeah. We would hate to have to take action, but this is what my supervisor said we can offer to try to get this stopped.
That's my entire life savings.
Yeah, maybe you'll have to come on to friends or family, but this is something which I really can't help. I can't really change the government systems.
Oh my goodness. And this will guarantee that I will be able to stay in the country?
Yeah, absolutely. The only thing we would need from your end is to just keep this really quiet. This is not something we offer to everyone. This is something we do specially for specialized cases that people are upstanding members that we want to keep in the country, so no one can know. I also have to warn you, if this call gets disconnected, it may be very difficult for you to reach us because this is not something that we can just give out our department number. So I'll need you to stay on the line as you go to the bank and get this done, but there's really no other way I can help.
Okay, I won't tell anybody, I promise. Thank you so much for doing this for me. You don't understand how this would ruin my life if I get kicked out of the country. So what exactly do you need me to do?
I'll just need you to get to the bank. I'll share the banking information with you, and from there it's easy peasy.
Okay, let me get my car keys. It's about a 5-minute drive to the bank. And you said don't hang up, right?
You can't hang up, that's right.
Okay.
So there you have it. It doesn't take very long. It's very easy to pull it off. My accent is actually terrible. You'll forgive me for that. I didn't really get into character before this call. But that is how it works. Now, obviously, for our community, it might take on different forms. But here are some of the stories that we've seen. Okay, somebody got a call from a grandson that was in trouble. They called a grandparent who was very hard of hearing. It was Erev Shabbos. And they spun a very, very simple tale. They said, I'm calling from the police department. Your grandson was texting and driving and got into a terrible car accident. He's currently in prison, and if you'd like to make bail, then you have to come straight to the bank and quickly make a deposit to a certain place. And that is obviously something that got them very concerned. Terrible, terrible things happened after that. A daughter sent an email, a very simple email came to her father that told a very similar story where she said there's some sort of investment that went wrong. Her husband doesn't know about it, but she desperately needs some funds. Can the father help her out? And please don't tell the husband. That money was sent as well. So all sorts of ways and means that things go wrong. These are the types of things that people have to watch out for. If we don't, again, this is things that take place daily. Give me 1 second, please, because people are messaging. I just need to make sure I get it. Obviously, there's fake IRS letters. That's a very easy one. Okay, the fake IRS letters that go out, those are something that people need to be careful of, and they're never, ever real unless you call them directly. There's government renewals. Very often they'll tell you that there are tax questions, etc., or domains are expiring. Anything that you're involved with, anything that's possible, those are the types of scenarios that they go after. People are asking how they know the kid or spouse's names. It's very, very, very easy. If you do a Google search online, you can very quickly see people's ages, who their family members are, who their neighbors are. It's actually shocking, and I urge you all just to go online, do a search once in a while, and try and see that, because that is something that's very eye-opening. And be aware everything about you and your family actually is out there, very easily accessible. Okay? Let's move on. Let's learn to be wary of out-of-the-ordinary calls. Anything strange, that's all these stories have in common. Something strange happened. The guy was minding his own business. The police department calls. Something terrible happened. Hang up the phone, call them back, call the correct number, and never react without thinking. Okay, let's move on. Let's go to our next example. And Alex, I'm going to apologize in advance. We're going to pick on you as well, just because you're a handy target, and I knew your face was going to be on the presentation. But let's work on gift card fraud. And again, these are not very complicated scams, but when they're done correctly and the timing is right and everything works out correctly, terrible things happen, and that is something I would like you to know. So let's figure out how we can do this. So again, we're the hackers. We'd like to target companies and steal gift cards from them. How can we go ahead and do this? So this is a list of 5 things we need. We need to target companies. So who are we going to target? There's lots and lots of companies out there. Who should we pick? We want to pick a company that's big enough and that has a lot of funds, that we kind of get lost in the crowd and that won't come after us, etc. We need to know who the CEO is. That's the way this scam works. We'll see why. And then we need target employees. Who are the employees of this company? We need their email addresses. We need their phone numbers. Let's work on doing that. Not very hard. So again, this is us preparing for this scam. We go to our web browser. We go to Lakewood, New Jersey, 08701. Who are the largest companies in Lakewood, New Jersey? So if you're looking at the list that pops up immediately, you'll probably recognize some of them. If you could dig a little bit deeper, you probably will recognize many of them. Again, not very difficult to do. These are some very, very well-known, very recognizable companies, and yes, very, very good targets for us to try and work on this type of scam. Now, we're actually going to make sure to do this around holiday season, and you'll see why, because that's how all of the context will make sense. Now we're just going to go to LinkedIn. So now we picked LCSC because that's our favorite organization we'd like to target. And we're just going to do a quick search to try to figure out who works at LCSC. Now, Alex, you can tell me if you recognize these names. I don't know if I know too many of them, but it's highly likely that you do. Okay, as we keep digging, it doesn't take very long. We start identifying names of people. They all work there. Not very hard. Now, we have to guess their email address. It's not very hard to do. We could go to their website. It'll almost always have the same .com as their email, so that's one half. And now we just have to guess the naming scheme. Also very easy to do. We do A. Lowinger. We're going to do Alex. We're going to do a whole bunch. I'm guessing within one of those we'll get it right. If we get it wrong, we get a bounce back. So we kind of know that we can very quickly identify the company. We found our CEO target. We have our list of employees. We have our email addresses. And I'm pretty sure we have everything we need to go ahead with this scam. Okay, so let's just go ahead and finish getting ready. We have what we want. We're going to go and, we're going to also get a 732 number. We said that we want a 732 number so that we can call them or text them in this case. We just go to Google Voice, we grab 732. You could take any of these numbers. We're just going to grab the first one, 903-4696. That is going to be the number we're going to work with. So now we're going to attack. Now, how are we going to do this? It's very simple. We're going to send a message to the employees asking them to pick up gift cards for us. Now, it sounds outlandish, but let's watch how we do this. So let's go ahead and do that. We're going to start with an email. Okay, so now we're going to purchase a domain, lcscc.org. Now, Alex, I'm pretty sure that's not your correct domain, right?
Correct.
So that's not his domain, but we bought this domain, and now we can send email to anybody with a Lowinger, lcscc.org, and it's highly likely they will think that it came from Alex. So we're going to pick on Chris again, our lovely victim, who's very gracious about this whole thing, and we are going to target him and see if we can get him to give us gift cards. So Chris, take it away. We're going to send you this email. What do you think? You're muted. I'm sorry. Let me unmute you. There you go.
All right, I just got a new email. What's this say? Chris, in a meeting, but I need you to do something urgent ASAP. What? What is this all about? Please text me right away. Thanks, Alex.
So now we want him to text us because we don't want him to notice that the email is strange. So we're going to have him send a text message, and our guess is that most employees in this large company don't have the CEO's number. Once he goes ahead with the text message, he cannot know, there's no way he can identify that this is not the CEO unless he figures out that it's the wrong phone number. Highly unlikely at this point. We're also playing on the fact that the employees are eager to help the CEO. Very often in a hierarchy, they might be eager to please, and that is what we're banking on. So let's go ahead and do that. Chris, what are you going to do next?
All right, I guess he wants me to text him, so I'm going to get out my phone and text him. Hi, Mr. Lowinger, you asked that I reach out. What's up?
Okay, so now I'm going to work with you guys. I'm going to train you on what we should respond. We have somebody on the hook. Let's try and reel him in. So I'm going to say, thanks, Chris. I'm in an urgent meeting, so I can't call right now. Okay, so that explains why we're not doing a phone call. I wanted you to buy gifts for a holiday. Can you help me, please?
He wants me to buy gifts for the upcoming holidays. Is he serious? I'm not going to. Well, he is my boss, and I do want to impress him. Okay.
Chris hates his
let
boss,
me write back.
by the way.
Sure. What would you like me to do?
Okay, so we got that from Chris. And now I'm going to respond, okay? We already got him on the line. He's ready to go do something for us. I'd like to send some gift cards out. Can you buy a bunch from Walmart or wherever convenient? You can put it on your personal card, and I'll reimburse you this payroll, okay? Send. Now, I'm worried that he's not going to do it right away because he has meetings or whatever it is. I'm going to start putting some pressure on him. I really need it soon, like in the next hour or so. Now, remember, I'm in a meeting, so he can't call me. And he's texting me. He has no way of identifying it's not me. What's he going to do next?
He wants me to go to Walmart and buy personal cards for everybody? Is he serious? And he needs it ASAP. Ugh. In the next hour? I'm working on projects. Yeah, I'll do it. Hopefully this will help me in the long term. Let me write back. No problem. Happy to help. Okay. How many and how much?
All right, so now we got him exactly where we want him. The only thing is we don't know how much money can this guy spend. Is he the type of guy that's going to max out his credit card at $50 or $50,000? So let's feel him out just a little bit. So I'm going to ask him, how many are you able to buy? I want to do as many as possible.
How much should I say? I should lowball this, but I really want him. I want him to look favorably on me. So and I did get that tax return recently. Okay, I'll tell him how much I can do. My card maxes out at $10,000 smiley face.
Nice. All right, we'll take 10 grand. That's perfect. Okay, just please hurry. I just need the codes on the card, not the actual cards, because we'll do through email. So now I don't want him to email me the stuff. It's going to take too long. I want to grab the cash and run before anybody figures this out. So I tell him to make sure to send it to me through email. In addition, I'm going to follow up with this. Also, please don't tell anyone. I want it to be a surprise, okay?
wants the codes, but I guess that's going to speed things up. And yeah, obviously I'm not going to tell anyone and ruin the surprise. So, all right, let me write back for sure, exclamation point. I'll take care of it, exclamation point, send.
And there you have it. It's really, really simple. It works phenomenally well. Now, we had a company that went for this scam that called us and asked for help. We actually did a test against a few hundred employees, okay? And out of a few hundred, we built this entire scam out. 7 of them were willing to get up, leave their workplace, drive around town, and buy us gift cards, made for a very happy holiday season in the Freed home. But seriously speaking, let's not be one of those people, okay? We have to understand that the hackers know what they're doing. They're very good at getting these things done. They'll find a way around our defenses. Let's be on guard. So be wary, again, out of ordinary calls or texts. It's very strange. All of a sudden, the CEO out of the blue reaches out to you. You've never communicated with him. Don't react without thinking. You have to make sure to think about that. And honestly, gift cards, really? Always. Gift cards are a very, very, very good sign that there is some sort of fraud going on. Think twice, think 100 times. Something is very, very wrong. Yes, people are very sad that people get preyed on like this. This is something which I agree, it's horrendous. And honestly, we're just getting started. It's only going to get worse. So if this is too much for you to bear, you may want to take a break and watch the recording later when you're a little bit more calm. Let's move on. We got fake websites. Okay, this is something which happens all the time. Believe it or not, Google is only an algorithm. It cannot tell what's real and what's fake. And if we can manipulate Google to push certain things to the top, we can actually have tremendous success in doing a lot of terrible things. So let's go ahead and do that, and then we'll see what we can do with it. So in order to get a fake website, it's actually really, really simple. We only need 2 things for this scam. We need a toll-free number, which is very easily done. And then we need a copy of a well-known website. How do we copy a well-known website? Now that could be Amazon, Best Buy, take your pick. We're just going to go ahead and make a copy of it and launch the exact same thing. We're going to use this tool called WinHTTrack. We will just go ahead, put in the URL, hit next, and download the entire website. It'll crawl it the same way any browser does, and it'll pull all the information in, and then it'll build out on the other side the entire website for us that now we can go ahead and place on the server. So yes, this is slightly technical, not extremely technical, but once it's done, let's watch what happens. So here we have Chris, once again, I'm very sorry, is going to be the victim. He's going to go to his website. He was shopping around on Amazon. He had some troubles with a return. He decides to go to Bing. He's going to put in a search for Amazon returns and then just browse around for a bit because he's random that way. And all the way at the top, one of the 3rd or 4th results in Bing is arcus-www.amazon.com. Now, if any of you have ever been to Amazon, I don't know if you have, probably it only said amazon.com. What is this very strange prefix you're seeing now at the top of your browser? Is that actually Amazon? Now look at the site really carefully. And I actually went ahead, we tested the functionality, we're clicking around. This looks as legitimate as can be. Okay, these look like actual Amazon products. Chris is going to go ahead, he's shopping around, he's got some very, very specific things in his cart. He's going to go ahead and try and check out. Now, once he goes ahead to try and check out, some strange things happen. He's getting errors until, finally, he gets the following message. Sorry, we have detected unusual activity with your account. Please call us immediately at the following number. Now, what happens now? So now, let's go back to where we started. Assuming we owned arcus-www.amazon.com, we got people to go there. We've got to push to the top of Bing, which was pretty easy because it was tons of Amazon-related data. Anyone who Googles Amazon, we might actually come up. And now we have our first victim calls us up on the phone. Let's go ahead and try and attack him. Got to pull my handy sheet here again so we get my call script. Are you ready, Chris? All right. Yeah, sorry, I muted you again. Ready? Here we go.
Right.
So now Chris is calling up. He's going to come speak to an agent from Amazon with Arcus Amazon. He's going to talk to myself and try and figure out what's wrong with his account. Go ahead, Chris.
Hi.
Thanks for calling Amazon customer service. This is Farad speaking. How can I help you today?
Hi, I was just trying to purchase a cute plush boba milk tea stuffed teacup pillow sock bubble teacup plushie toy, and my credit card wasn't working. I wasn't able to move forward with the transaction. I don't know what went wrong. Are you able to see it on your end?
Oh, I'd be very happy to help you with this today. Can I get the email address associated with your account, please?
Yes, chris.smith@gmail.com.
Please hold 1 second while I look this up. I see you were trying to order a cute plush bubble milk stuffed teacup pillow soft bubble teacup plushie toy. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. My son loves that.
Okay, please hold while I'm checking this. So, Mr. Chris, there's some suspicious activity on your account. I'm afraid we will not be able to process the order online today.
Oh, well, suspicious activity. What do you mean by that?
I'm afraid that your credit card is showing suspicious activity. We will need to put it in manually before I clear up the account. Is that okay?
Okay, sure. I don't know why there would be suspicious activity, but I trust you. Go ahead.
So now I'm going to get him just give me one credit card, and then we're going to get another credit card until finally I'm going to try getting a debit card at him because his cards keep on getting declined for some strange reason. Now, finally, when I get to his debit card, that's when Chris finally gets suspicious, and Chris does what?
Hang up.
He hangs up the phone, and that's kind of what we're always trying to get to. It's very, very easy to just hang up the phone, double check that you called the correct number, make sure that you're not getting scammed. Now, we just gave one example of what we can do once we get people to go on a fake website, but there's many other things we can do, and there's many other ways we can get you there. I've seen fake Google ads. I was actually walking around once, and someone came over to me and said, "There's something strange." They Googled Amazon returns. They clicked on a Google ad instead of going to the top website, and that Google ad was malicious. And they called the wrong number, and the guy was trying to get me to buy him gift cards, and I kept on accidentally misreading the gift cards until he got very angry at me and ran away. There could be fake email issues about your Apple account, Microsoft, Amazon. All of these things are things you should obviously ignore. And computer errors and viruses. We're going to come back to that soon, but those are absolutely deadly. It's very easy if a website gets hacked for me to display all sorts of messages on your screen and cause your computer to act in strange ways, even if I barely have access to it. And then from there, people make a lot of bad decisions. And like I said, we will return to that later. So let's be careful where we browse. We're going to check the address bar carefully. Now, I showed you guys there, and that address bar was arcus.amazon.com. Now, is that actually Amazon? If you're not sure, the answer is yes. It actually was a real Amazon website. I spent quite some time investigating, trying to understand why it had a strange prefix, and it had to do with some sort of merger with a hashing company that Amazon bought, so there was a strange URL, but it actually was Amazon. But if this was a fake website, you would see almost no difference, and if you don't know how to read those URLs, please stay tuned. We're going to figure out how to do that later in the presentation. You have to know the difference between arcus.amazon.com and arcus-amazon.com, because those are very, very different, and we need to know how we can do that. If something makes you uncomfortable, again, just stop. If you're not happy, you're not comfortable, something strange is going on, the customer service rep just took one credit card from me, and that also didn't work, hang up the phone, figure out a different way to get through to them, and move on from there. Let's move on to our next topic. This is a very, very important topic. So if you were falling asleep, I ask you to please look at your screens and re-engage. This is very, very, very important. And this, like we said, is the most deadly, I think, of all of these attacks, because this is very, very deadly. Somebody's saying Amazon was a subdomain. star.amazon.com is correct. Yes, you are correct. And that is what we were trying to point out. But we want people to actually know the difference. They have to recognize the difference between those two. And we're going to focus on that a little bit later. Let's figure out how wire fraud is happening. And it's not very difficult to do. Let's set this up. We're going to be the bad guys again. We're going to target a target-rich environment to try to steal their wire. So number one, we need to find a target that's likely to send a wire. Now, I wrote to be sending a wire, but it's not really accurate. It's anyone involved in any sort of wire, invoice, or ACH transaction. Anyone. It doesn't have to be the person sending it. It could be anybody around them. All of those are equally catastrophic if we could go and break into their email. Now, is it hard for us to break into email? Let's see how we do that. It's actually really, really easy. We'll also need a bank account to act as holding. So if we get into anyone's bank account, which we're going to phish old people, however we do it, we're going to get into a bank account. We're going to use that bank account to send the money into, and then from there we send it out of the country. It's much simpler that way. It's harder for the victims to track and stop. So we're going to bounce it into another account. So let's go ahead and set this up. We're going to be the hackers again, and let's try and make a lot of money together. So first we have ourselves, our hacker. We know we're hackers because we're wearing a hoodie. That's a dead giveaway that we are hacking people. And we are going to just send out an email campaign. Okay, now I was on a Slack channel today and they were discussing how much spam there is. And the reason why there's so much spam is because you can send hundreds of thousands of emails for pennies. Okay, it's a very rare time in human history that you could actually try and get your message out to hundreds of thousands of people at almost no cost. That is why there are such massive amounts of emails going around, many of them unsolicited and even malicious. So this guy has 500,000 recipients, 500,000. How did he get them? We'll see later. Very, very easy. We're going to get to that soon. In real time, as he sends this out with a regular email server, so this could be MailChimp, SendGrid, any type of service that you've seen, they can use that to send out multiple emails. Usually they'll run their own email server, which is a little more technical, but not very, very difficult. Then they can see the open rate, the click rate, and the submit rate. How many people hand over their access to their email. So let's go ahead and do that. Someone had a great question. I'll try and get to it shortly. So how are we going to do this? So we're going to target Amelia at financefamily.com. Okay, we're going to send her an email that tells her that we're sending out a holiday gift. Click on this link to choose your gift, but you're going to need to log in using your company email and password. That's the one thing she needs to do, and she gets free stuff. Very, very tempting hook. She goes ahead, clicks on the link. Now what she doesn't recognize is she's going to share-point.openshare.com. That is not Microsoft. What is Microsoft's actual sign-in? Now we have about 400 or 500 people on right now, I think. Right, Alex?
Yeah.
I don't know if we asked every single one of you on this call what is the correct domain for Microsoft's online services, if any of you will know it. Now, some of you probably will, but I don't know for sure. I actually know it. Chris, do you know it? You know it. For sure you know it. It's in all of our presentations. Yeah, I think you know it. The correct sign-in is microsoftonline.com. Now, that's a very strange domain, but that is Microsoft's legitimate domain. Now, let's watch what happens. So the hacker sent openshare.com. Amelia clicked on the link. It prompted her to log in with her company username and password. She puts in her email address. Now what we're going to do is as she puts in her email address, we set up our server to force the information to go straight through and type it in real time into Microsoft. So when she types Amelia at engineersing.com, we type Amelia at engineersing.com. In addition, anything that Microsoft responds, we're going to send back to her. Okay, so we basically have this mirror going through. Anything she says goes to them. Anything they say goes to her. So she puts in her email address. We put in her email address. She puts in her password. We put in her password. Now when she hits next, Microsoft is going to display a screen that says, we're going to text your phone with a code ending 95. Please tell us what the code is. She puts in the code. We put in the code. Now we broke into her email. Okay, it's really that simple. So a single phishing link, since she doesn't know how to read it, they just go ahead, they breeze through the system, including second factor, and we're all the way into their email. Now, once we get into her email, now the party starts. The first thing we do is we grab all of her contacts, okay? Emails connected to her contacts. Now we grew our email list. So if we sent this out to 100 people, 5 of them fell for it. Each one of those have 300 contacts. Someone else can do the math before I embarrass myself, but eventually it becomes a lot of targets, and very quickly they grow their list. Now, once we're in her email, our primary goal with this attack was actually not to steal her emails, but to get to the wires. We're trying to get them to send us money. We like the money. How do we do that? So we go very simply into Outlook, or you can do it on the web, and we set up a simple email rule. Anytime a message arrives and there's a word wire in the subject, we're going to forward it out to another email address. Because I don't want to sit there reading all of Amelia's emails. Neither do you. We actually have a life besides all the money that we steal. So we're just going to go into all the mailboxes and set up this rule to get very conveniently notified when any action is happening. So let's see what happens next. Okay, so now let's just set up what the payment flow is supposed to be. We have Amelia. She's here in the top corner of the screen. She goes ahead, she gets an invoice from Dan. Dan sends her an invoice. She sends the invoice over to Judy. Judy's going to pay the invoice and paying that money to Dan. So that's the simple circle we just made up here, just for demonstration purposes. So let's go ahead and wait for the attack. So now we have all these mailboxes. We get a ping. Jack@hackers.com gets information sent to him with something had the subject wire in the subject line. We got notified. Dan would like to get paid $74,800 to account number 889. Okay, starting in 889, ending in 4156. We'll just use that. That's where he wants the funds to go. What do we do now? It's so easy. We're already in Emilio's mailbox. We just go ahead, we turn around. We know from other times that Emilio always sends bills to Judy. A simple search told us that. So anytime there's a bill, Judy's the one who pays it. We forward over to Judy. We switch the account and the routing number in the red rectangle. Now it's going to 2849. And just like that, we stole the wire. Okay? Now, what we need to demonstrate is that in this case, it was actually a really simple cast of characters. We had Emilio, we had Dan, and we had Judy. It could be much, much more complex. We could start adding all sorts of people into this conversation. There could be a director of nursing, there could be a bookkeeper, a contractor, other bookkeepers, a lot of people involved in this transaction. Any one of them gets hacked, they're all going to filter back to Judy because she's the one who sends out the funds. And it doesn't matter who we get into. So in this case, we have seven different people that we could hack into. Any one of them will give us a direct line to Judy that'll actually send out the funds, or Judy herself could get hacked, and that would obviously be tons of fun. That's how simple it is. Now, you can change the context for any scenario that you want. You could be a school, you could be an organization, you could be a business, you could be a private individual buying a home. Every single case of wire fraud looks something like this. Someone has to move money from point A to point B, doesn't do a proper verification on where it's supposed to go, and that is how the money gets stolen. Let's not be one of those people. So these are some incidents that we've seen here in town. We, again, changed some of the details, not to make it too obvious, but there was a business that was subleasing a huge warehouse to a tenant, $30,000 a month. The tenant got hacked. The tenant sent the money to the wrong place and now refused to pay the business. They told the business, how do we know that we got hacked? Maybe you got hacked. The money's gone. We're not paying it again. Now we go to court. And last I checked, it's already been over a year. That case is still pending. So if you're the business owner, even if it had nothing to do with you, if you just didn't get paid a tremendous amount of money, it's too bad on you. The money disappeared. The hackers are happy. Both parties are unhappy. And now there's a fight, and lots of bad things happen once you have to go to court. We had another case where it was construction and a supplier. So you had this construction company ordered hundreds of thousands of dollars in goods. The supplier demanded payment. The payment never came through because the supplier was hacked, and the construction company sent it to the place that the supplier had said. And again, the supplier said, we will not give you the goods until we get paid in full. And the construction company now has to decide, either pay again, even though they paid as the supplier instructed, or they have to go to court with the supplier or find a new supplier, which this person had told me would be devastating to their business. They actually paid again, even though it was clear the supplier was hacked. If you're in real estate, or if you're involved in any sort of real estate, it could be the broker, it could be the law firm, it could be title people, it could be anybody involved, the buyer, the seller, the investors. There's so many parties in complex real estate transactions. Anybody gets hacked, they will try and get someone, either the buyer, the seller, the title company, to send the money to the wrong place. Now, how do we fix this? How do we get around this? Okay, and before I go, yes, it could also be with checks and ACH. They will wait. We had people sending checks out to Hawaii that got picked up. Anywhere in the country, people will be waiting with a courier to pick up those things. So how do we do it? Verbally verify wire information. Okay, I was in shul this weekend and people were discussing another example of how they almost lost a lot of money. Verbally verify wire information to a verified number. Don't call the number that came in the email, because yes, the hackers will wait with a huge call center to try and pick up those funds. We're going to check the email senders. We're going to learn how to do that in a moment, and learn to read email links. We will also do that in a moment. Now, somebody asked a question about wire fraud that happened multiple times. Some people think using WhatsApp to send wire instructions is safer. Is that accurate? The answer is yes, it is safer, but I still would prefer you not use that. It should be verbally verified. So WhatsApp is encrypted end-to-end, we hope, and it's only available on a single device, so that's also a good thing. But you don't know if the person actually has control of their device, for example, or other strange things which are not very likely, I agree, but that is still just call them on the phone, get the wire instruction, and warn them that you're recording the call, and legally speaking, if the money goes to the wrong place, you will not be held liable, and make sure that you have that written into your contracts. Let's learn how to read through email links and learn how to check the senders. And just in case it wasn't clear, I'm aiming to end by 2:30. Okay, 90 minutes, 2:30. We hope to let everybody go. And if you have to leave early, I promise I won't be insulted. I might not even notice, even though our count's been going up. We're at like 700 or 800 now, I think, Alex. So this is going very well. So let's learn the rule. This is how we go ahead and check email. Let's check email. So we have https://. And again, I'm going to see how this goes back to the emails, how we read links. But assuming you were Amelia, you got that first email about your gift, you hover over the link, you take your mouse, you pause for a moment, and this is what pops up. Where does this website go? Where does this take me? So the answer is this takes you to google.com. Now, as someone mentioned, it's the subdomain, so maps.google.com, but we're going to just focus on the actual URL. This is google.com. How did that happen? You have to know how that happened. We have 2 forward slashes. Okay, almost every URL starts like that, 2 forward slashes, which we ignore. We go ahead to the next forward slash, which is this one. We go back to the dot and google.com. I'm going to do it again because nobody was listening probably. We have 2 forward slashes. We read forward till the next forward slash. We go back to the dot, and that is google.com. We're going to practice this on a bunch of URLs. I hope you won't get bored, but please pay attention. So our top URL, if you don't know where this goes, the correct answer is cooking.com. We have 2 forward slashes, 1 forward slash, here's our dot. Cooking.com is the correct website. Now, how about my second one? Please look at the screen and think in your mind, where do you think that goes? And if you think cooking.com, please pay attention because that's not cooking.com. We have 2 forward slashes. We read till the second forward slash. This is our dot, urjsa.io. That is not cooking.com. Every single phishing email that's trying to get you to click on a link is going to look something like that. Let's do the next one, 2 forward slashes. 1 forward slash aewq.it. Again, not cooking.com. This one, second forward slash, here's our dot, s31s.ca. This one is actually a repeat, second forward slash. Now this one's unique. It does not have a trailing forward slash. Okay, we're going to keep on going. 2 forward slashes, we read all the way till the end. Here's our dot, ksl.ru. And this last one, again, we've got 2 forward slashes. We read all the way through ksl.ru, and that is your domain. Okay? Now, we're about well past halfway through. Now, webinars are very creepy because I'm sitting here talking to my computer and I'm sweating buckets. If I'm doing a great job, don't hesitate to let me know. Alex, you can nod his head if I'm doing good. And Rabbi Friedman here, our expert photographer, is giving me a thumbs up. We're doing good? All right, but if you want anything changed, speak to me on the chat, and we'll go faster, slower. Just give me some feedback. All right, so now let's figure this out, how this applies to an email. So this came in through an email. We got an invoice from Joe Smith. Now, let's assume we were doing business with Joe Smith. Joe Smith sent us the invoice that we have to now go ahead and pay. Should we pay this invoice? We need to know if it's real. Maybe it's fake. How do we check? There are 3 things we need to learn to check. Number 1. We said learn to check the senders. A lot of the wiring emails, the frauds that we see, very often it's very easy to check. If you just look at the sender, you'll notice that the sender is a fake. Here we're going to double click on this, Joe Smith. This is Joe Smith at njheatingandair.com. Now, you might not know Joe's domain, in this case, njheatingandair.com. If you don't know your domain, that doesn't really tell you anything because anyone could have gone ahead, purchased that domain. But if you do, at least you know this probably came from Joe's mailbox. Not for sure, but probably. So let's make sure that we check that because that could be a giveaway. Second, we look at the attachment. We're going to see later, don't ever open an attachment unless you know where it's from. Unless you understand why you're opening it, never open an attachment because that's when we want to get into your bank account. That's how we're going to do it. We're going to send a malicious attachment. Once you open it, very quickly we get access to your machine. Don't open those unless you know what it is and it looks proper. Last, we're going to look at the link. We're going to take our mouse, pause over the link, Once we do that, it pops up on our screen and shows us intuit.com because we know how to read URLs now. 2 forward slashes, 1 forward slash, intuit.com. So if you were expecting an invoice from John, you check the sender, you check the attachment, you check the link, you can go ahead and pay that invoice. But if any of those 3 checks don't work, call them on the phone, figure out what's going on, and understand it. Now, somebody put in a response on the question and answer that says not to use WhatsApp because they're concerned it can be hacked, and they have inside information that makes them concerned. You're welcome to take that into consideration. I don't know, I guess it depends on the stakes, how high the stakes are, but again, I urge you to do the phone calls. Just do those phone calls. Now, I also had a disagreement with somebody recently about whether you have to verify every single wire, and I say no, you don't have to verify every wire. It's only the first time you're sending money to a specific location. So if you already sent this guy money last week and he received it, and nothing changed, he didn't tell you to send it to a new account, you don't have to call him again and say, can you please re-verify your banking information for me, because it already went there. So that is my personal opinion. Other people disagree and want to do it every time. It also depends how many wires you send. If you're doing it once a year, you probably should call. If you're a title company, it's very overwhelming to have to do every single wire, and I don't think that that's very practical. The webinar will be recorded, and Mr. Lowinger and team will make sure that people find out. Lowercase l and uppercase I and an email address look alike. Yes, they look very similar depending on the font. So again, I'm sorry, I didn't explain the question very well, but if depending on exactly how the font is on your phone or your device, it could look almost identical, the I and the L, or not. It really depends on a lot of different factors. And yes, it's very, very tricky. You must be very careful, which again, you should be verbally verifying the wires, which takes care of all the problems, or the ACH or the check. Anytime a first-time payment is going out, please verify those wires. Let's move on to our last category. Okay, and again, if you have any questions, put them up now because I'm running short on time and I want to gauge things properly. So make sure that you get those questions up in case we have to answer them. We're going to do 2 versions of banking fraud. The first one is so easy, and it's so terrifying how easy it is. Okay, we're going to empty out Chris's bank account. Okay, it's very, very easy to do. Chris, are you ready? We're going to empty you out. Cleaning him out. Okay, if there's anything left from his immigration scan and his website, we're going to go for whatever's left. This is what we need to do. This is a prep that we're working on. Number 1 is we're breaking into their emails. Now, we learned in the last section how to do that. It's not very hard to break into emails. Now, that doesn't mean we break into everyone's emails, but if we send out a blast of 500,000 people, we'll probably get a nice big bunch of emails in there that we'll get into, and we can use those to try cleaning out their banks. Next, we're going to look through their emails. We're going to find their cell phone numbers and who they bank with. Again, not very difficult to do. We do a search in their email. We very quickly find all sorts of invoices. We find their cell phone number in there somewhere. Very easily done. We even have their contacts in case we need that. Now we know how to reach them. The last thing we can do is we're going to spoof our phone number. We saw earlier there's apps that can do it. You can really do it with any phone system. You could that's how the real guys do it. They just changed it in their phone system. Very easy. And they go ahead and call the victim. So let's go ahead and do that. Now, we're going to need 3 codes from Chris. In order to steal everything he owns, we just need 3 codes. What are the 3 codes? Number 1, we need to reset his password. Okay, in order to get into his account, we can't get in without his password. So we're going to reset his password. It's going to send the second factor code to his phone, because we'll do it in the email, and the email will click accept. That will change the password. The bank's going to say, please give us the code from the phone. We need that code. Number 2, we need to log into their account. Even after we set the password, the bank is going to log us out and say, log in with your new password. We're going to get another code. So we need a second code. The third time is when we set up a wire, it's going to send the third code. But if we could capture those 3 codes, we will be rich. And we would like to be rich. So let's go ahead and do that. Ready, Chris? We are going to attack. Let me put my notes before I forget. Okay, here we go. Hi, is this Chris?
Yes, it is.
Hi, I'm calling from your bank from Wells Fargo. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Hi, well, you're doing very well. I'm really sorry to trouble you. I know it's evening time, but we noticed some suspicious activity on your account. Did you recently do any sort of major transactions that might trigger some of our security?
No, I don't believe so. No.
So I have to ask you some identity verification questions. We'll make it really simple. Is that all right?
Sure, go ahead.
I'm going to be sending a code to your phone just so that we can make sure that you identify your, so you verify your identification. All right, did you get it?
Hold on one sec, let me check.
All right, so
All right, I got the code.
great. All right, pause everybody. We just reset his password. Okay, because again, we went to Wells Fargo, we went to the website, we sent him a password reset, we made believe we're from Wells Fargo through our spoofing app. He's none the wiser. Next. I'm afraid, Chris, that code timed out. Can I send you one more and let me know what that one is?
Sure.
All right, you should see it momentarily.
631774.
Okay, great. I am currently authorized into your account. Let me just review the last 5 transactions with you. Tell me if you recognize them. So we got $100 at McDonald's.
Yes.
Okay, and I'm going to go through the next 3. You stop me if at any point you don't recognize one. We see that there was a car payment. There was also one at a local shopping center. And just now at Best Buy, there was somebody that placed a charge for $993.
Wow. No, I didn't go to Best Buy. No, that's not me.
Got it. All right, so I can definitely work with you to lock down your account. We'll reverse those charges. You don't have anything to worry about. I will need to send you one more code just to verify your information. I'm going to send that now. Is that all right?
Sure. Let me see. Okay, I got it. 456789.
Great. That's a very easy code to remember. And now I just cleaned out his bank account. So all I needed was his email address, get into his email and call him on the phone. And just by talking to him, I was able to break through all of his defenses and clear out his bank accounts. Again, I did not make up these scenarios. You go online onto Reddit or different websites. This is what they're doing. This is what's happening. This is something which I think people should be aware of. We're going to do one more version of bank fraud, all right? And this is going to be our last scenario. And this one also is very, very deadly. It's actually much more common for some reason than the last one. But here we're going to build up a whole network to allow users to call us. We're going to get them to call us. So we had before a fake website. That was an example. We have bogus emails that can say there's a fake charge of some sort. There could be website redirects, or we could just straight out cold call people and eventually get people on the phone. Once we get people on the phone, a certain number of people will let us onto their computer. And again, if that sounds outlandish, it's really not. It's very, very simple to get people to let you onto the computer under certain conditions and circumstances. And the last step is going to have them send the money either through wire, which is going to be our preference, or even through a courier. We're going to have an entire network of money mules all over the United States waiting to pick up packages. And they have this, if you go online now, you can find tons of ads telling people if you just bring a package from point A to point B, because you're in a courier service, we'll pay you $500. Now, why are they paying $500? Because criminally, they're grabbing funds that were stolen, or cash that was stolen from people. They're moving it to a FedEx facility or to a UPS and shipping it overseas back to the hackers and getting paid hundreds of dollars just for moving a package. Okay, so that's going to be the setup we're going to do. We're going to go ahead and attack. Let me pull up my notes one more time. All right, Chris, are you ready?
Yep.
All right, so Chris is browsing the web, minding his own business, when all of a sudden his computer goes haywire. Now, how did we do this? We had a malicious Google ad that redirected to this infected website. Once you got to this infected website, there's some very simple JavaScript code which is going to pop up all sorts of warnings, and a blaring alarm sound is going to sound on Chris's computer. Now, Chris is very concerned. He doesn't know what just happened. He's very, very worried. He would like to figure out what to do. So he goes ahead. Now, his browser is locked. He cannot actually make any changes. That's what we did with the JavaScript. And it's telling him to call this phone number. Chris, please go ahead and call the number.
Ring, ring.
Hold on, I'm sorry, I lost my notes. Hello, this is Microsoft Engineers Customer Service. How can I help you today?
Yes, sir. My computer just froze up on me. It said it was locked. I'm afraid I might be hacked. I don't know what's going on here.
Oh, we can definitely help you with this today. I will need you to go to this website. Please let me know when you are ready. Now we're going to go to anydesk.com. It's very, very easy. We're going to have him hit run because that's not locked. He's going to run anydesk.com, pop up to this website, and now he's going to very kindly download and run and let us onto his computer. Okay, now let's watch what happens next. I'm going to talk to Chris, and I talk him through a whole lot of baloney. I'll bring up his event viewer, which is where Windows records all of their errors, and I'll show him tons of errors. Because every single computer has errors. It's like when you go to the doctor, they're going to find a problem. There's problems in your computer. I promise we'll find hundreds of errors on your computer. Now I tell Chris, look, the bad guys were on your computer. I'll clean it up for you. And then we'll engage with our special security team to make sure that your bank account was not hacked. Is that something you would like us to do? Chris, what do you say?
Yes, please.
Okay, we can definitely do that. Let me transfer you over to that department. Okay, now I'm going to use the same voice because I'm just terrible at this, and I really didn't think through this whole character business. Hello, Chris. So please take a look at your account balances and make sure they are accurate. Is this accurate account?
Yes, that looks correct.
Okay, so that's excellent. Now, I do very much want to tell you that your bank did ask us to help track down the hackers. We will need to transfer funds into your account. Is it okay if we do a transfer allowing money to go into your account? Is that okay with you?
Sure, that's no problem.
Now at this point, we're going to pop up a very simple command prompt. This is a little piece of nothing, actually, that runs a program on your computer that basically has this. So this is Chase's online refund server. We messed up because this bank should have been Bank of America. I should have fixed that. But now we're going to have Chris go ahead and enter. We're going to tell him we can't do this because we need you to transfer these funds. Please put $20,000 into your account and make sure that you do it correctly. Now Chris goes through, fills out all that information. While he's doing that, we go to the website that he is sitting on his bank. Okay, he's busy, distracted with a command prompt. We go ahead here and we modify the HTML on the page. Now, simply speaking, when the bank displays your bank balances to you, it's simply telling your browser that these are the numbers in your account. Now, if we go here and we change that information, it's going to change the page. Okay, because your bank doesn't recheck those numbers every minute. Once it displays, we could actually modify that. So while Chris is busy, or the second he's done, we go ahead, we change it, and we are adding 20,000 fake dollars to his account. Now I go back to Chris and I say, Chris, please look back at your account and tell me if your balances have changed.
Yes, it actually went up to 98,000.
Excellent, Chris. So now we will only need you to take that money back and send it over to our special security department so they can track the funds and we can go ahead and capture the scammers. Is that okay?
Okay, that's no problem.
And there you have it. We get Chris to go ahead and send us wire out $20,000 just based on the fact that looking at his screen, he got a $20,000 transfer from some silly command prompt. Now, I can't really do this hack justice, because I really needed to have a team do that. So I'm going to show you a video clip of an expert that does it, and we'll watch that in a moment. But the one that we saw recently in town, exactly like this, was there was a mother running a business. Okay, a very busy Jewish mother. Her kids were sick at the doctor that day. She runs home. She's doing some business transactions that she had to take care of for her business. The hackers got her computer to act exactly as we described. So her computer went haywire, it started making a lot of noise, and she got very concerned. She called up the number, and they actually had a fake Chase recording. So when she called up the Microsoft guys, they said, we'll transfer you to Chase. They went ahead, they recorded all of Chase's phone activity, and they said, you're working with Chase, and they reassured her, and slowly they drew her into this entire thing and wired the money straight out. And unfortunately, close to $50,000, $60,000 is now stolen, and it's been several months, and it looks very hopeless that that will be recovered. So let's just take a quick look at this video. Now let me just introduce you to this guy in case you don't know him. Mark Rober is one of my favorite people on YouTube, and I don't have any other favorites, I don't think, because I don't really spend that much time on it, but his videos are phenomenal. They're fun, they're funny, they're educational, and you'll actually learn a lot about scam artists. And a lot of the information that we got today originated with his videos. If you want to know a little bit about him. He is a former NASA engineer. Okay, so there's a guy who was a NASA engineer who left NASA and currently makes YouTube videos. So you could think about how those two things cross over. And he goes ahead and builds the most fabulous contraptions, originally just for entertainment, but eventually he started targeting criminals. And his most famous invention, I think, is what he's displaying on his shirt, is actually called a glitter bomb. The glitter bomb is a device that he designed to look like a very expensive piece of electronics. He left it on different porches around the country, and when criminals would steal them, and they would open it up, the box would explode with tons of glitter, very smelly spray, and it was tracking them and recording it, and it's tons and tons of fun to watch. But what became clear is he accidentally stumbled into tremendous networks of overseas criminals that were doing all sorts of computer scams. And that is how he slowly started unraveling this entire operation until he climbs all the way to the top. And his final video, which again, it's fascinating and fun, is call centers that happened to be in India that were hundreds of criminals were working in, targeting people daily. They hacked into their cameras. They sent them all sorts of cockroaches, exploding helmets, all sorts of fun things. Urge you to watch it. But what we're going to show now is how this exact scam comes out, very briefly, 2 to 3 minutes, and it'll go through some of the things that I wasn't able to display. Here we go.
Explain exactly how this scam works so well at tricking so many people. There's an email that goes along with the scam that basically says the same thing as the rope.
Oh, sorry. I just want to make sure the sound is working. Is the sound working? All right, great.
Call, which is Amazon just charged you $200, but if you don't recognize this charge, please call right away to have it refunded. So when you call, they say, I'd be happy to walk you through the refund process on your computer. So just type this here and simply install this, and then I'll be able to fully help you out. And most victims don't really comprehend. They've just installed a remote software program that gives the scammers full access to their computer. Now they're ready for the scam. They tell her that some accounts have actually already had their refunds automatically processed. So she needs to check her bank account to make sure the $200 refund isn't already there. And when Bessie here asks if he can see her banking info, he explains in technical terms.
It's a 3D page, so I cannot see anything.
Okay.
And so sure enough, she hasn't got the refund yet, so he needs just about 5 minutes to work with his billing department in order to process it. But first, he makes a really big deal about this.
I'm signing out from your account in front of your own eyes.
And this is true. He actually does sign out. At which point he triggers her screen to go black so she can't see anything that he's doing. And then he immediately logs back in using the browser pre-stored username and password. He's going to do a simple browser HTML edit on this page to temporarily make this Lowe's purchase look like a refund for $20,000. And you'll see why in a minute. And as he's editing away, he chats her up to try and build trust.
You're like my granny, Miss Bessie. Do you know this?
Yes.
She was like one of my closest friends.
Oh.
I used to share each and everything with her.
You mean like what you do for a living? And you might be wondering, why doesn't he just wire transfer himself money while he has unrestricted access to her account? But the problem there is that it's traceable and it would likely get flagged by the bank's fraud detection system anyways. But if you can get an old lady to mail you cash, it's so untraceable, the authorities don't even begin to try and track it down. Now that he's finished, he unblinks her screen and he informs her that unfortunately, the billing department couldn't process the refund, so they have one last option to try.
This is the Chase online refund server.
It's actually just a text window that does absolutely nothing. It's pure theater.
It is an irreversible form. Whatever you are typing it over there, put it in a correct manner. Nothing would be changed over here.
Basically, he makes a big deal for 3 minutes that she's the one that has to enter all the information, and anything that gets typed there is immediately permanent. Maybe you can see where this is headed. So her name, last four of social, zip code, and finally refund amount.
Please enter your refund amount.
If you go back, you can actually hear him type the 2 extra zeros on his keyboard and hit enter.
Check everything. Is it correct?
Oh, no, this is a mistake. Oh, I screwed. It was supposed to be a 200 in there. Oh, God almighty. I'm exhausted. I can't do this. My mind is absolutely fried.
Please check your account. Did you really receive that money in your account? Oh my God. Plus 20,000.
Yeah.
Please save my job, ma'am. If I'll not earn for my family will die due to hunger, due to starvation. Oh, please,
Yeah,
ma'am,
of
please
course.
don't
I mean,
please
what
don't
can I
ma'am.
do? I mean, I can,
It's bad for you. You are also like my grandmother.
you know, I'm an honest
You're
person.
making me cry.
I'm,
You're making me cry now. I'm getting attached to you.
now, how do I fix this?
He tells her that unfortunately mailing a check or wiring money would just take too long, so he needs to think for a minute. And then he comes back with this.
Hello, Miss Bessie.
Yes.
I got an option.
And you can see now how he's got her to the point where she's totally willing to send $20,000 in the mail and to lie to the folks at the bank or FedEx or even her family who might try and stop it. In her mind, she messed up. And because she's a good, empathetic person, she'll go through great lengths to make it right for someone she doesn't realize is a heartless.
So there you go. They scammed her very, very effectively, very efficiently. Now, in this case, it was an elderly woman, but in our cases, there's all sorts of ways that we have similar triggers. We have similar things that will get us to act in certain ways, and we have to learn to protect ourselves. We really do. So number one is never install anything unless you understand what it does. One of the terrible mistakes that were made here is they all ran this remote access tool that allowed the hackers to come onto their machine. Now, if you've ever used TeamViewer, Log Me In, how long does it take for people to come onto your computer? How many clicks is that? It's usually 1 to 2 clicks, and now we have full control of your computer. Never do that unless we understand what it is. And like we said earlier, the same goes for attachments. An attachment can be very malicious. Never run it unless you know what it does. We're going to protect those second factor codes like we saw in the first example. Chris is handing out like candy his second factor codes. Chris, what is wrong with you? Okay? You're fighting with your boss. We cleared out your accounts, gift cards, one after the next. Protect those second factor codes. If your computer actually does get infected, don't call the number on the screen and ask them to fix it. Okay? That is the infection. Call a trusted expert. It could be your grandson. It could be your friend. It shouldn't be me because I'm not in that line of work. But if you aren't sure, ask somebody else. If something strange is happening and you feel like you're on the slippery path, make sure you talk to somebody, talk to an expert. Before we go on, somebody asked what it is I do, which I probably should have started with. This was not supposed to be promotional. I do cybersecurity in a nutshell for businesses, and that's about as far as I'm going to go. If you have any other questions, you can always find me after, and that answers that question. All right. Let's review, and then I will finish up as any other questions. Otherwise, we will wrap this up. So let's review. Let's be suspicious if strange things happen, okay? If you get strange phone calls, texts, emails, whatever it might be, learn to be suspicious. That's really a thread that goes through the entire presentation. Let's just stop with the gift cards, okay? Anytime you hear gift cards, let it be a trigger that tells you this is fraudulent, and let's just wipe out that whole scam so it never happens again. Second of all, carefully check websites before visiting, okay? If you're just going to Google something, look at where you're going, learn to read those URLs like we demonstrated with the second // which you probably won't remember, but you can watch the recording to remember. Verbally verify wires, please. I'm begging you, and tell your friends, tell everybody you know, you must verbally verify wires. There really shouldn't be a time that we ever hear again that a yeshiva is in terrible trouble. I'll tell you, people are crying. Their entire lives are destroyed. And it sounds like an exaggeration, but it's not. If a person had their entire life savings wiped out, it could change the course of their entire family's history. They may not be able to pay for weddings all of a sudden. All sorts of terrible tragedies. It's really, really tragic, and that's really why we did this today, so I'm hoping it's helpful. And last is don't install anything you don't understand. Any questions or comments or concerns, please go ahead and put it up. Otherwise, I will let Alex close it out. Somebody asked about AI and fake voices. It's definitely something which is a future concern. I personally don't think it's a real concern today that people have to worry about as far as a scam happening and using it. Definitely grandparents, maybe it could happen to, but I still don't think it's happening widespread enough to be a real concern. It's something which is on our radar, and at some point we will have to worry about it. Yeah, people are agreeing with me that they know many people it happened. Yes, unfortunately, there's too many stories out there. I think we are done. Alex, do you want to close it out and wish everybody a wonderful goodbye? I got one more question. You know, you start the goodbyes, and then I'll wait for the last few questions.
Go ahead. Answer.
So people are asking about putting email and a phone number on a resume on a job board. It's an excellent question. It's very, very, very problematic. People are looking for jobs. When you look for a job, what you have to do and what you should do is network and get the message out and let a lot of people know. Now the problem with that is, yes, those boards are monitored. If you are looking for a job, you're in a very vulnerable state. Okay, it could be financial troubles or it could be emotional because of all the changes that are happening. You have to be aware of that. So how is that going to work? So I would say at the very least, have a temporary phone number, Google Voice, and a temporary email, okay, which you'll only monitor during those periods, and maybe forward it to your email if you have to. And I urge you to do that. And be aware of the types of scams. What they'll do is they'll see that you're applying for a job, and they'll tell you, oh, to apply for this job, you almost have it, but there's this fee that we have to pay for processing, etc. And they'll try to get some money out of you, or try to get you to give away your credit card information, etc. So just be aware of that. Other than that, I think you'll be fine. People are asking where to get the recording. I'm sure that Alex and Chaim will take excellent care of you also. I leave you in very good hands. I think that is it. Any last questions while Alex is talking, we'll address. Otherwise, Alex, you can say goodbye to everybody. And again, thanks so much for joining. Please help get the message out. It was really great to know all of you, and I appreciate you joining, because webinars are creepy enough if nobody shows up. So Baruch Hashem, we had a nice showing. And I appreciate all the emojis. If everybody wants to give me feedback, you can send me a thumbs up or a clapping emoji. I'll be very impressed.
All right. Thank you so much, Chaim, for taking of your very precious time to highlight this important area of our lives. There will be a recording. Firstly, we will be posting it on our website, www.thelcsc.org. Give us some time, say a week before we get it up there. You can also reach out to us, either myself or Chaim. Our phone number is 732-901-6001. I'm at extension 235. I'm at 209. And you can also email us. It's corelowitz@thelcsc.org. Any small businesses who need any kind of assistance, that's what the LCSC is here for. And again, thank you very much to Morty for a very concise, energetic presentation. And we can't underscore the importance of being wary and just looking out for your own best interests.
And I just want to thank Chris for being a great victim today and playing along, with a robust manner, and to my team who does great graphics. I'm terrible with the graphics, and they did everything flawlessly. So I just wanted to give them a shout out as well.
Amazing. All right. Thank you all. Have a good and take care.